Do you remember when you first discovered glitches in Pokemon? I remember when I did. Summer, 1999, at Kingswood Summer Club. Pokemon Red and Blue had just been released for the previous year, which I guess would make me an 8 or 9. The Pokemon craze was in full swing over here in the UK. Every day, I backed up my Pikachu Yellow Game Boy Color. Pokemon Red permanently slotted into the top. My friends and I would gather together with our link cables for epic trading and battling sessions that lasted the whole day, or just until parents came to pick us up at home time. Around midsummer, our group was starting to feel like we'd seen it all and done it all. Sure, I don't think we'd ever caught 'em all, but back then it seemed like an impossibility. We'd grinded to level 100, eliminated the Elite Four more times than we could remember. The game was starting to lose its draw, and there were still 4 long weeks of summer left. Then we saw Missing No. I remember the first kid I knew I had to have him. He told us his brother showed him how to catch this super rare, super awesome Pokemon. We gathered round as he revealed that Pokemon to us, that magical distorted reverse L shape that helped the key to the infinite rare candies. We were all instantly in love and dying to get one of these rare Pokemons for ourselves. So I passed on the secret and showed us how. Within the next few days, our little group was hooked on glitches. We scoured magazines for the latest bugs and tricks. We visited Glitch City, battled all kinds of high-level Pokemon off the coast of Cinnabar. We even caught Mew. But there was one glitch which I've never been able to find record of since. Funnily enough, I can't remember the details of how to pull it off, but I remember the outcome: Glitchlett. The technique for finding this little guy followed the pattern of all the little tedious Pokemon encounter bugs in Red and Blue. Talk to this dude, fly to this place. It might have done something with Zelda, I'm not really sure. Glitchlett was what you expect. A glitched up Diglett. The sprite was mostly intact, but the face was distorted, missing no style. There were a few distorted lines through it, like scan lines, and the cry was a little weird too, although I can't put my finger on what it was. His level was never visible, but I guess it must have been over 100, as we could hardly put a mark on him while trying to catch him. Most of us resorted to one of our many cloned Master Balls. We nicknamed him Glitchlet, and that night we were eagerly trying out what this guy could do. The next day we all meet up to compare results, but by this point we all considered ourselves Pokemon Glitch experts. Experience with the Glitchlet were varied. One guy claimed it messed up his game so bad he couldn't even play anymore and had to reset. Others say they tried to battle with Glitchlet only to find the game crashed every time they tried. I had the most luck in battles with the new Glitch Pokemon. His only move was Dig, and he couldn't learn any HMs or TMs. Even though you expected Diglett to be able to learn, against wild Pokemon, Glitchlet was a powerhouse. He never lost PvP, and together we OHKO'd every Pokemon we came across. The attack itself was odd. It took 2 turns as usual, but for the first turn he'd be hit with some kind of self-damaging recoil. There was no explanation other than Diglett was hurt, and that strange cry, but it never made much of a mark on him. Glitchlet's HP was higher than anything I'd ever seen, and because it only took 1 dig to destroy any wild Pokemon, it was never much of a problem. I'd like to waste my friend's team during linked battles, and he soloed the Elite Four. I remember when things got even stranger. I was leveling a team using the XP all, destroying wild Pokemon with Glitchlet seemed the obvious choice, and I maxed many Pokemon this way in the past. I had woken up early that morning to level, especially, and it's been all day KOing wild Pokemon. At that moment, I was under my bed covers with my trusty Game Boy Color light. Mom would go mad if she knew I was asleep at this time. Everything was going according to plan, and my new team was leveling up beautifully. I must have been concentrating pretty hard, because it was too late when I noticed how low Glitchlet's health had become. I selected Dig for the final time, and that piercing cry, louder than ever before, and my stomach turned as I watched his health bar slide towards 0. The bar doubled back on itself. It seemed to empty 4 or 5 times before Glitchlet repeated his dying cry. Now a horrible noise. Diglett was killed. Do you want to use the next Pokemon? I know it's cliche in these kinds of stories, but I remember that vividly. I selected no. My other team members would have made a mark on this enemy Pokemon anyway. I was warped to the overworld and found myself back in the unknown dungeon. Opening my Pokemon menu confirmed what I'd seen before. My beloved Glitchlet at the top of the party, health reduced to 0. I selected him. I'm not sure what good I thought it might have done. And I noticed that something was different. Maybe it was there before, but I think I would have noticed that Dig was now selectable outside of battle. I thought for a moment, maybe it was the atmosphere, but this move was suddenly chilling to me. Glitchlett had never been damaged by any wild Pokemon, only by this move. It wasn't even as though he was hurting himself in confusion or with recoil. Whatever had hurt that ultimately killed him had been underground all along, waiting, sapping Glitchlett's life each time I sent him to attack. His death cry echoed in my ears, and I realized what I'd done. My thumb hovered to the A button, my brain willing myself to dig and get out of the cave, but my stomach felt sick. What was down there anyways? I was stuck with no choice. The exit was too far away. My remaining Pokemon would have been destroyed if I tried to get back there. With a lump in my throat, I dug, and my sprite began spinning into the earth, and the screen went black. I wasn't surprised when I realized where I was. Not the entrance to the cave or the nearest Pokemon Center, but a glitched out cave that I now realized was some kind of bugged version of Diglett's cave. I checked my Pokemon and saw Glitchlett's health had been restored. He was now my only Pokemon. The other 5 members of my team were entirely missing. I chose Dig again. Oak scolded me. Really, this wasn't the time to use that. With no means of escape, I set off looking for the exit. My sprite moved slowly, more of a crawl than a walk, as I moved. The cave's wall bugged out, turning red, flexing and swelling in and out like the lungs of a monster. Slowly, music began to play, high-pitched, distorted, and horrible. It was quiet at first, but grew louder with every step. As it played, something became familiar. A familiar tune beneath the wearing, bugged notes. Without thinking, I began to mouth the words of music. Diglett, dig, Diglett, dig, trio, trio, trio. Diglett, dig, Diglett, dig, Diglett, dig, trio, trio, trio. Then I encountered a Pokemon. A wild Dugtrio appeared. As the battle music began, the level 225 Dugtrio appeared before my eyes. The cry was an awful, warped scream that seemed to be becoming a gnashing crunch before stopping entirely. Dugtrio's sprite was like Glitchlett, was deformed. Dugtrio's 3 faces were hollow eyes. Twisted and pixelated howls that looked somehow painful. The bottom of the sprite was unrecognizable. It looked as though 6 deformed, clawed arms were rising in the dirt around Dugtrio's body. My only Pokemon was released, and Glitchlett's back sprite appeared before me. His cry played again, quiet and seemingly a lot weaker than before. I was just a bystander now as the game took control. Selecting an attack from the menu, of course, Dig was the only option. My hands were sweaty as I gripped the Game Boy tight. My breath was hot on the screen. Dugtrio went first. Dugtrio used Scratch. It hit 6 times, each tear triggering the pitiful cry from my glitch Pokemon. Glitchlett was left with the silver health as he retaliated with an attack of his own. Diglett used Struggle. It hardly made a mark, as expected, but it was now strange how Dig had never lost PP before. As previous, the game selected the next move, as attack was chosen. I noticed that Glitchlett suddenly had no moves. 2 words were here appeared where the first 2 attacks had been. No hope. Dugtrio's cry echoed again as it lodged in the solid scratcher with his deadly, horrible arms. Glitchlett was killed after the first strike. Diglett is dead. Do you want to continue? I didn't really understand the question, but that didn't matter. No was selected for me, and the battle faded away. Back on the overworld, the walls swelled and glitched before my eyes, and the maddening music began again. I inspected Glitchlett. His sprite had changed now, although his face was never visible like Dugtrio's. It seemed to be formed into a pixelated scream. Dark brown streaks cut through the sprite. They looked like claw marks, or blood. I pressed on. I don't know what I was thinking at that stage. Just that this tiny Pokemon has infected my game in a much bigger way than I expected. Glitch Pokemon seemed kind of wrong to me at then, as I thought something I ought not to have been messing with. Something we didn't understand or couldn't control. With no Pokemon left, I was surprised that I didn't black out or warp to a Pokemon Center. The game just continued as usual. It was only a few steps before the Pokemon encounter theme played, and the screen turned black. A wild Dugtrio appeared. The Pokemon sprite was different to the last, almost completely disfigured. The cry seemed as though it wouldn't end. The screaming and wailing of a pixelated monster appeared on the screen. The glitches and cut pixels, I could make out the hollow sockets of 8 eyes, 8 terrible clawed hands and gaping mouth. With no Pokemon left, my trained back sprite faced the glitch head on. Before my eyes, the green faded as my Game Boy batteries cut out. Whatever just happened gripped me with fear. That night, I didn't sleep. I even took the game out of the now dead Game Boy, although I'm not sure what would have been done. Days later, I started the game up. I'd not saved during what had happened, so I was returned to my last save point. Glitchlett was ahead of my party. Dig was his only move. I thought for a moment, before abandoning that game forever and starting anew, but I'll never forget how it all started, how it all happened. Like something out of a horror movie that keeps repeating and repeating over and over and over again. Whenever I saw that glitch head on, but everybody has to move and I can't seem to forget the whole thing like it never happened. Like digging into my skin and controlling me and my actions, but it's all in my head. I know I must have been hallucinating the whole thing, but I can't see, but when I see that cartridge, all the horrors I fear are still in there, waiting for it to come out and scare me forever in my head, for eternity to come.